Welcome everyone to University of Illinois Extension's local government education platform. We use this in our partnership with several state partners around broadband development as well, and namely, great partner we've got here today to cover the Broadband Breakthrough infrastructure planning for rural farming communities and really any interested communities, districts, counties around the state who are interested in participating. Thank you for coming today to learn more. Of course, this is also sponsored by the Illinois Soybean Association in partnership with the Illinois Soybean Association and sponsored by United Soybean Board. And want to thank also Bill Coleman from Benton Institute for Broadband Society for leading us into the discussion today. We're very grateful for you being here and always paying attention to Illinois localities and helping them through. You've been with us for several years now, and we're very grateful to you and, of course, the Benton Institute for Broadband Society for all you do. And without further ado, I will pass it on to you, and thanks so much.
Thank you, Nancy. Thanks to you for always hosting us so graciously and competently. We really definitely appreciate that. And this is the second webinar that we've had to promote the Broadband Breakthrough program that is funded by the Illinois Soybean Association and delivered by the Benton Institute in partnership with many partners we'll get to in a moment. But we're going to, this webinar is going to be a little different in that we're really going to be highlighting kind of the experiences of 3 counties that have been through the program, 2 from Illinois and 1 from Tennessee that ran through a similar program that we call Accelerate. So if you hear a little difference in terminology later on, you can know the difference, but the programs are quite similar, and we think the program benefits are the same. So welcome to everyone. We, due to the generosity of the Soybean Association, we're going to be able to deliver this to 10 Illinois counties in 2 groups of 5. And we're optimistic we're going to be able to do that, but frankly, we've probably due to our own marketing efforts or shortcomings there, we're still trying to fill our first group of 5, which we had hoped to start earlier this month, but now we're kind of in a waiting pattern to get the communities we need to move forward. So we're anxious to get started. We're anxious to help your communities with broadband planning. Next slide, Reed. So here's all our funders, the Illinois Soybean Association. And it's interesting that our first groups of communities through this program was funded by the National Soybean Association. They said they're going to kind of move on. They didn't want to spend quite so much money in Illinois. So the Illinois Soybean Association stepped up and said, we're going to do this because it was so important and successful. You can see that besides Benton and the Extension Service, we have the Office of Broadband. We've got the Illinois Innovation Network out of University of Illinois as well. Illinois State University, especially in the mapping and geography department. And they're also the GeoMap folks. So we've got a full suite of organizations ready to help your communities with broadband. Next. And so you can go right to the next slide, Reed. We're really looking to determine how to help you determine, pursue, and achieve the best possible solution for your community. And it's interesting that it really takes each community to come up with its own unique path towards better broadband in terms of community role, broadband partners, financing schemes, operations over the long term. And so as we know that some communities have a pretty easy path towards broadband, and they are kind of move forward on their own towards getting things done. A lot of communities really need extra help, especially in light of all this broadband funding that's coming to the state of Illinois through the both state appropriations and the federal infrastructure bill. There's going to be plenty of dollars for broadband to deliver broadband, hopefully to everyone. There's some question about whether the federal money is going to be enough, but the key, I think, is to end up with a broadband that you think your community needs and deserves to be competitive into the future, to attract people and investment into your community. So that this program is really about helping you do that. Next. It's a guided self-help 4-month program that really helps your community to meet weekly, gather information, and develop your strategies. And so this 4 months seems like kind of a long time, but in broadband planning, it's a very aggressive schedule. But we know that at the end of 4 months, you're going to be much better positioned, have a community consensus about the broadband you think you deserve and know you deserve, and have a good pathway forward with hopefully prospective broadband partners to actually apply for dollars and deploy infrastructure. Next. So it's really this process here is that right now we're in this leadership recruitment and really starting education as we promote this opportunity. But then there is a lot of, once we start, that leadership education really continues. Recruitment really never ends. Information gathering is critical to this. And we talk about community surveys, broadband provider interviews, looking at the state maps that are available that show broadband availability, deciding whether those are pretty accurate for your community or whether they need to be worked on. We spend a lot of time on vision development and consensus building on your team, because everyone would probably say that we need better broadband. The type of broadband, how we get there, the community role is all subject to discussion and consensus building. And so that actually we spend quite a bit of time on that. And that continues on again throughout the process. The opportunity analysis is what kind of network do we want? Who are the providers best able to help us achieve our vision? What are the funding sources available to help make this financially feasible? We know that if fiber networks to the home in rural areas was kind of a financially feasible process, some investors would have done that by now. And so that's why we have these federal dollars to step in and fill the gap. But you want to make sure that you end up with, again, the network you think is going to serve your needs and the financing package that you can afford, and the provider partner that you're going to be living with for the next generation or so. So all these things are important to have a good hand in it. The other piece of this is that with the federal funding, they actually have a strong requirement for community input. So there may be multiple providers who are interested in serving your community, but your approval of their application is actually quite important. The reporting we talk about is really to your community, letting them know what you've learned, your recommended strategies, their role in helping you achieve your goals. And that so that's not a reporting to us, although we give you an opportunity to practice your pitch at the end of the program in kind of a graduation ceremony. But really that's ongoing reporting to your community about what's going on with it. And then the project development, which you can see actually goes off the slide a little bit, because that can take some time. You know, it takes a lot of effort to find the provider partner, have them do the engineering, apply for funds, construct. And so it's a long-term process that you really need to be involved in throughout. Next. So we're going to talk now, and that's a general overview of the program. And And we meet weekly for 2 hours. The first hour is generally we're providing content to you. The second hour is for your community team meeting to review and plan your work and figure out how to get the task done. The 16 weeks, I think you'll find out, goes relatively quickly, and people are generally amazed at how the progress they make. Reed, let's stop sharing here for a moment. And just, we're gonna welcome, we have 3 communities, and Greg and Stacy are here from Bedford County, Tennessee. And they're one of their programs that was most recently completed. And down there, we just call it the Accelerate program. Skylar Isley is here from Schuyler County, Illinois. And then her neighbor in that part of Illinois, Samantha Harnack, is here from Hancock County. And so I want to welcome them, and we're just going to do a little Q&A and panel discussion to have them give their reflections about how the program worked in their community. So let's start with Skylar. And Skylar, what did you think about when you heard about the Broadband Breakthrough program opportunity? And you might be muted.
I'm sorry, Bill. It's one of these days. Good morning, everyone. It's one of these days when my computer decided that all the gremlins would come out a couple of days after Halloween. And so my cameras decided to stop working. I'm having a little glitchy problem with my audio. So you can hear me now, right, Bill?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what did we think when we first kind of came into this and heard about Broadband Breakthrough? So first of all, I want to just kind of paint a picture of who we are in Schuyler County. So we are a very rural county in Western Illinois. We're about 45 miles from the Mississippi River. So we're way over on the western side of the state. And we have about 3,000 people in our county seat, which is Rushville. And then we also have about 6,500, 6,800 in the county itself. So we're looking at population density of about 15.9 people per square mile. And so the thing that I thought when I first heard about this program was, oh gosh, and this is very counterintuitive, of course, but I thought, we're so small. Gosh, we won't even be able to be competitive. I'm not even sure that they'll even, want to take a second look at who we are in Schuyler County. We're also a very small organization. I am the executive director of Schuyler County Economic Development, but we are a very, very, we're slightly funded, we have a small amount of funding from the city and the county. So we're, we just kind of, we're pretty much a volunteer organization. So that was really something that I thought. And so, there's nothing, I'm not keeping anything too close to the vest. It turned out to be amazing, which we'll talk about later. But that was kind of a misconception. I thought, are we really going to be able to be competitive, or are they even going to look at our application? So that was one of my first thoughts. I'm just really being honest about that.
Good, thank you. Greg and Stacy and our Tennessee visitors.
Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
I think that when we first, and I'll talk a little bit and Tracy will talk, we were trying to decide how far were we wanting to go with our broadband. And the more we talked about it, the more excited we became. We found people were really interested because they really needed the service. And Bedford County is south of Nashville, about a 45-minute drive away. And like Scott was saying, there it is. We have 50,000 people in the county. The county seat, Shelbyville, has 20,000. And so we tried to decide, how are we really going to make this work? How can we do it? So fortunately for us, and Bill was a huge proponent of this, is find a provider. And fortunately, we had United Communications on board with us, and slowly but surely, we were able to put our team together. Tracy's background is in strategic planning. I'm the county commissioner. You can find out she's got all the brains on this operation, but she used her skills and the connections we had, and it was an amazing experience. And thanks to you guys at the Benton Group, I mean, we really pushed through this, and we found avenues of support that we didn't even think of, thanks to your direction and suggestion. And we were really pleased with how we put our entire plan together. I think Tracy can speak to that better than I can.
Yeah, thinking through the application process, I think we started with, hey, we need a small group. How do we kind of put together the group to even do the application? And there was a little bit of hesitation on how do we make sure that we keep people engaged for the duration, right? This 15, 16 weeks, as well as the 2 hours, and the time flew. And as we got involved in the process, what I think accelerated was exactly what Greg just said, the momentum. And so the curriculum about what we can do, how we can get in front of grants, how we can kind of rally the county, because everyone needed it and want to see a plan. That was the excitement factor that kept bringing more and more resources to bear, as well as we've networked a lot now with the other counties that were part of the program too. So I know we'll talk a little bit more about the specifics, but I think we went from, hey, can we really do this? Until, hey, wow, we've got a lot of support through the tools and through the learnings that we did in the program.
Great, thanks. And Samantha from Hancock County, welcome.
Thanks, Bill. So like Skylar, we are on the very west side. We actually, Hancock County abuts the Mississippi River. So our western border actually is where Iowa and Missouri meet. We have a very rural community. We're surrounded by, you know, a lot of different, slightly larger towns, but for the most part, we have about 17,600 people, I think is what the last census said. And we don't have any community in our county that is larger than 3,300 people. So we are very rural. We're very, you know what, I just realized my video is not on, sorry. So we're very rural, and we're very, you know, farm-based. We're agriculture-based, which, you know, a lot of people, when we first saw this, I was thinking to myself, well, you know, what do we need to, you know, have Wi-Fi, you know, not Wi-Fi, I'm sorry, fiber to every single home. And the more I learned, and it was funny because when I first heard of this program, I read it, you know, I get all of the information from the extension office at the University of Illinois, and I read it and I thought kind of the same thing as Skylar. They're not going to be interested in us. We're too small, we're too rural. You know, we don't have enough of anything but really farmers here. So that was sort of the main thought. And then Roger Pavey, who is actually no longer with WIRC, but was with a group over at Western Illinois University, he brought it to my attention again and said, hey, you should really look at this. I did again, and I was, you know, I told my concerns and said, look, I'm not sure that this is going to be, you know, is this right for us? Is this, you know, really what? And he said, you know what? I think it is. I think it's what exactly, you are exactly who they're looking for to his understanding. And so I said, okay, let's get it done. I think I learned about the program 2 weeks before it started, or before the deadline to apply for it, and was able to get together a great team and also had great success. So, but we'll discuss that soon. So yeah, it was similar to the others, you know, just, is this gonna fit? And, you know, I wasn't 100% sure how it could help us, but also how we could help, you know, with the program.
Okay. Tell us more about how you got your team members in such a quick time frame.
So our economic development, I'm the director of Hancock County Economic Development, and we are a membership-based program. So my first order of business was to send out an email to all of our members and say, who wants to be involved? We're doing this because we, you know, we're applying. And so, you know, I need people who are committed. And of course, as you mentioned before, you know, 4 months, the 16 weeks is a lot of time. It's a lot of, you know, commitment. And so it was kind of scary because you're like, you've got all these people with full-time jobs, professionals, whatever, and you're asking for 2 hours every week for 16 weeks. That's crazy. Like I can barely get people to show up to a meeting every other month, you know? So it was kind of that was the big concern there. I had so many people, I had to turn people away. You know, the suggestion was somewhere between 8 and 15. I think we had 25 people say, no, I want to be involved. And so I got to pick and choose. It was members, there were a couple of non-members, but they were people that we had asked to join in from pretty much every industry that we have here in the county. And we were grateful to have people from our Farm Bureau, which was amazing because, again, we are highly agricultural here. And we also had some people from our kind of main, we have several internet service providers, but we had our main internet service provider, the fiber provider that is working very hard to get more fiber laying in Hancock County. It was fantastic.
Good, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Greg and Stacy, how did you recruit?
Well, you know, we started thinking, how do we get businesses? But our focus was more on the educational aspect. So we started with our school system, then we started with our government services, and then we were fortunate enough with our agricultural extension office here at the University of Tennessee, really became engaged. Then we said, let's try to find other people, other interested parties, stakeholders that would be involved. So we reached out to our minority community, our Hispanic community, our faith-based community. We gathered in people who were in our economic development partnership and were stakeholders in our local businesses. And we started out with 10 or 15, and by the time it was over, it was like she was talking about, we had plenty of people, you know, not every single meeting, but we were always 15 to 30 people, and we engaged everyone in that aspect because we wanted their opinion and how we could best make this work for them. I think it's kind of how we.
I would agree. The only other thing I would add is it was interesting to see the change in, I'll use the age demographic. So we actually really had a great mix of people who have been here, who had started, and this was our third go around with the broadband plan. The first two we've had some grants and support of, but we know we had huge gaps within the county. And once we tagged the schools or got them engaged, that about, hey, what's happening in the high schools, what just happened in COVID, how we're kind of supporting our local TCATs and the educational development and building that to the workforce, that just became kind of its own momentum. How do we think about where the pockets are in the county so we can make sure that the people have access to that for advancing everything they need to do for the quality of life.
And what's important too, Bill, really, let me make this one quick point, is our community is a rural community. We're the #1 farming community or county in the state of Tennessee, but we have a large Hispanic population that migrates into our school system. Poverty and lack of education make for a lifestyle we really have to wrestle with. So we wanted them engaged. We wanted them to be part of this whole process so that we could find ways to lift up the entire community, not just the businesses or farmers and that. So that was a quick.
Skylar, how did you recruit your team?
So you'll see that I'm switching. Now I'm on my iPhone now, but hopefully you can hear me okay. So one of the things that we really took the opportunity to do was I did a really quick video, just put it together on iMovie and talked about where we were with broadband in Schuyler County to kind of help to inspire everyone and let them know what level of engagement we really wanted to be at. And then we, rolled up our sleeves, went to the drawing board, started thinking about the people that we wanted to recruit from our school system and, the minority population. We have a group of, we have a group of individuals who are from what would you say, a migrant population who are here working over at in Beardstown. So, and then also our ISPs, wanting them to be involved. Got 2 out of the 3 to be involved. And as I said, the school district, our local businesses, we just kind of, our Peace Corps fellow and I put our heads together and really started thinking about how can we be engaged in this process, and how can we really get people out from, out from behind their desks to come and help us with this. And it worked really well. It was a very short time frame that we had. So as an inspiration to those of you who are on a tight time frame right now, I think we did most of this work in about 10 days to 2 weeks. So we were able to, get a good group that was engaged with us and committed to the process for the 16 weeks. So yeah, it was a great opportunity to really, as I did the video and got in front of them, we hadn't really been talking about broadband a lot in Schuyler County before we found this opportunity. So it was a great way to just get out of the gate fast and really get people talking about it and interested.
Good. What would you say the most valuable elements of the program were for Schuyler County?
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Beyond, and I can't name just 1 or 2 or 3, or maybe I could name 10. But so I would say the survey opportunities, the opportunities for the support with the survey, giving us an idea of what our vertical assets were. And when I talk about vertical assets, so now I'm becoming a little bit, that's knowledge that we gained through the whole process, talking about the technical aspects of what is broadband and how could it help our community, and what are the different types of broadband that we could bring in. So the technical aspects were important. And then also the community engagement. Again, I know that's understated and it seems very intuitive, but getting the community involved, getting them excited about taking ownership. I think this was a shift in the thinking for our community, was that we could actually have play a role, that we weren't just relying on whatever our ISPs did. It's just, are they gonna bring broadband to Schuyler County or not? Are they gonna help us out? These people over here would really like to have better internet, but they've been contacting their ISPs and nothing's really happening. So it really shifted the control, where as a community, we feel like we're empowered to be able to influence this process of broadband in Schuyler County now. And so that's been a really, really important thing. So
good. Yeah, that's great. It's really exciting to hear that from you. So Sam, why don't you tell us about what you thought of the most beneficial activities? You're muted.
Sorry, my dogs bark, so I have a home office here, so
ours are talking to each other then.
Yeah. So I think the most valuable, again, I agree with Schuyler wholeheartedly. There are so many that it's difficult to name. Of course, the survey, just to let us know, one of the things that I was saying as we were trying to get more and more people to take the survey was, you don't know where you need to go until you know where you're at. I mean, like, we could say, hey, here's a goal, but who knows? And of course, in Hancock County, I think we found out we have about 10 different providers, which seems crazy, but they each take like a little section of the county. So there's nobody covers the entire county. And we have a couple of small ones, a couple of really big national ones, a couple of more local ones, but like I say, 10 different internet service providers. It's hard to get a comprehensive map. So the mapping was amazing. That Shabika and her crew were just, seriously, the maps, to me, I got very, very excited about that. But really overall, I would say the educational piece of it, again, Schuyler, talking about the vertical assets, talking about, the mapping, just understanding what broadband is, what its specific terms were, and then being able to go out and share that in the communities that I serve. Going to I went to the Farm Bureau meetings. I went to township meetings. I went to city hall meetings, different types of meetings all over the place to help other people understand and continue to do so. Of course, once we finished the program and, put together our report, which if anyone's interested, I did put the link to that in our meeting chat. Ours was a different type of presentation. We put it on our website. It was kind of its own little website within our website. So you're welcome to go take a look at that if you're interested in what our results were. But that just getting all of that information, all of the data together and being able to put it together and go out and tell people, hey, here's where we are. Here's where we as a county think we would like to go. Here's what's being done. Here's here's what else needs to be done. And here's the information to help you understand all of that data. It was a big deal.
Good, great, thanks. And Shabika does do a great job on the maps, and then also, on the surveys, which are so important. We'll hear more about that. But in Illinois, Nancy is our survey mapping guru, and really goes above and beyond to help communities harvest. It's one thing to implement a survey, but to be able to harvest the good data from that is really important. So back to Bedford County in Tennessee. What did you guys find most valuable?
So the involved community engagement, I think, was key. I don't want to undersell that, but again, we rallied across the county, all the groups. But the survey data really helped kind of even punctuate that more. We had a great turnout from our ag, which we didn't think we would. Our ag community really showed up and delivered and kind of participated. The map was interesting, but it was really the data and the commentary. The commentary helped us make it personal when we were doing our presentations to the groups. And I'll share one of the stories because actually Greg had it, and he was talking to someone about why they needed broadband, and the lady said that, because it would help her sleep better, right? And we're like, what do you mean? And it came out, it was a medical situation where because her husband was on monitoring equipment and they didn't have broadband, she would have to get up and call and give the diagnostics in every couple hours. So sleep was disrupted. But it was story after story after that really allowed us, when we put those things on our Facebook page, to show the importance of it and how it improves the quality of life, which really kind of rallied everyone together. So survey key, I think, and the stories that came in the commentary were good for us. And the last point I'll say would be, it was the opportunity. Not only did the program get us ready for one grant, it exposed us to the next 18 months of grants and opportunities that we should be trying to get in front of for every opportunity for our community. So we're building the strategy around how do we do that to keep the momentum going forward, while we're waiting for the beat and waiting for some other things to come forward.
Yeah, and Tracy created
with the surveys. We ask people, one of the questions is, tell us your broadband story. And so you hear stories of, like that medical one, that's a great one. I can sleep better. I've never heard that phrase like that before, but that as a caregiver, I can certainly understand that. And then I know that some communities generate about 80 pages of survey comments. It's probably 50 pages on average of people telling their story, how the lack of broadband is terrible or how great broadband is supportive of their lifestyle. So that's good. Greg, did you have anything to add?
Oh, no, we Tracy created our Facebook page, and we were able to develop a URL code, and we were able to send that out for everyone to sign up and register. But I think probably the most empowering aspect, and this is thanks to you guys, is we were able to put a broadband forum together to engage people. We are out in the community, and when the state starts asking questions, what are you doing? How are you going to get there? We're fully prepared because of the instructions you guys provided. We've got the data, we've got the surveys, we've got the people, we've got the whole vertically integrated plan in place. So it was a huge asset to be a part of the program.
Great. Sam, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you are now, what kind of progress you made through the program, and then kind of what's happening now in Hancock County with broadband.
So, like I said, in May when we finished up, we just went around telling everybody, basically kind of shouting from the rooftops about the great data that we had received, and basically said, look, if you are, so for example, I have stellar broadband at my house, but I have a friend who lives about a mile away who does not. And so it's hard to know when you're a city council member, a county board member, or whatever, unless it's affecting you. So it was really about education at that point, because we were incredibly blessed with the internet service provider that we have been working with, the one that is sort of pushing MTC, McDonough Telephone Corporation. Telecommunications Corporation. It used to be telephone company, but anyway, they actually received an $18 million grant while we were in the process of the Broadband Breakthrough. $16 million of that was to go into getting Hancock County more fiber, basically. So rural fiber was being laid. They have a huge plan. They're planning on, there's another company, NextLink. They are a wireless company, and they also received about $4 million in grants also during the same time. And so they've been putting up more towers. They've established an office here. And so really just supporting our internet service providers by getting people to, sign up as they grow and as they get further along, and then saying, okay, what's next? Because, as everyone knows, grants and, fiber, internet service is not fast. And that was one of our biggest things. I would tell anyone who is thinking about this program, as you go out and you connect with your community, this isn't going to happen next summer. Our internet service providers are, in some cases, 2 and 3 years out. And, the grants that they're working on getting, this grant, the $16 million that the MTC received, they're still kind of dealing with some of the EPA studies. They're dealing with, easements. There's a lot of red tape. And so this grant money actually won't, be put into place probably for another 2 years. And so one of the things that we really, really wanted to let people know is this isn't going to happen quick, but we're not going to stop until I think our mission for the Broadband Breakthrough program was fast, reliable internet service for all of Hancock County. Because we know we can't say we want everyone to have fiber. We have, being up against the Mississippi, we have some areas that, there's bedrock. We can't have fiber. It's just too cost prohibitive to dig through the rock. However, we can get as close to that as possible and get them some of the best wireless that they can get. We can increase cell service to people all over the county. So we tried to make sure to explain and continue to do so. Whenever I go talk, I always try to, mention broadband. I do some radio interviews. I do a lot of speaking throughout the county to different groups and to, different municipalities at their city council or township meetings. And that is one of the things that I continue to talk about, is where we are and that we aren't forgetting about it. So that's kind of what our process has looked like. It's a lot of hurry up and wait right now. So, but still keeping our eye out for more grant and funding opportunities for sure.
Good, thank you. Skylar?
So I would agree a lot with Sam. We are continuing the conversation with our constituents, really trying to keep broadband top of mind in Schuyler County, letting them know that it's not going to happen right away, but we're still working on it. We still get calls from, people that say, when are you going to get internet to us? When's that internet thing going to happen? And so it's a great opportunity for a conversation with them about what it means and the timeline and grant funding. And so we're still looking to get our first big grant, but we're working with our ISPs for that. So the 3 local ISPs, we do have 3. There's a 4th national one. NextLink is actually engaged with Schuyler County now. So that has been another good part of the process, that we've been able to actually have some conversations with NextLink about what their plans are in the county. And so that's been a very positive thing. In June, we had an executive summit with our ISPs, which were all of the three of them, all three were in the same room, and we had conversations about kind of, Sam had, talked earlier about how the county is kind of split up, so if we were going to look at trying to do our best to get fiber to a lot of these areas, how are we going to kind of divide that pie in Schuyler County with our ISPs? And there were some good conversations, I think it was great to have all of them in the room to discuss that. And then, now we have NextLink that's in the conversation now as well for wireless. So that's how it's just the biggest challenge after you're finished with this whole process is just maintaining the momentum, keeping everybody engaged, letting them know, as Sam said, that we're not going to forget about it. We're not going to give up. It's always happening in the background. There's always something going on in the background. The other thing is working with our legislators. So I have a call with Senator Durbin's office next week. We're going to talk about broadband, just trying to continue to engage at even the national level, thinking about ways that we can get in front of some of our legislators to keep Schuyler County in mind when it comes to broadband funding. So.
Oh, good. Thank you. Adrienne, you have a comment?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I was going to say that I think that if you know about the application process for these grants in the state of Illinois, providers get scored points if their community is involved and the community supports their application. So one of the reasons to get these groups together, and I know in Tennessee, and maybe this is a good segue to have Greg and Tracy talk about working with United, but the point is that once you've gotten into a talking relationship with these providers and you've identified the interest, if they end up going on to make an application in the state of Illinois for a grant, you can either help them by providing letters of support, or I believe either Schuyler or Sam also offered to help write the applications for grant funding, because sometimes these small providers just don't have the capacity. So it's just yet another reason to join the program and make sure you get that share of money.
Good. Thanks, Adrienne. And let's go then to Bedford County, Tennessee, for kind of where you're at and what's next.
Well, Adrienne, exactly on point with that. Scoring points on your application is a critical component. And being a part of this program, as you realize in the conversation, we asked them, how do we make the application, and do we get extra credit or points for being a part of the program? And they said, absolutely you do. Well, get this. So we just applied for a last mile, middle mile grant through United, through the state's available ARP funds. This is the last state money before we go to the BEAD grant. And United came to us. They are using us as their bell cow to attract with these other counties because of their process going through the accelerator program. That ups our commitment score in their involvement score like 90 points out of a 222 point scale. All of a sudden, boom, we're all leading the pack with it. So we were able to leverage that to have Franklin County, which is south of us, Coffee County south of us, Rutherford County north of us, and I think Marshall County, which is west of us, with us leading the pack and a vertical line through those all the way through us as last mile, middle mile, so that when we get to the BEAD grant, we've got the spine completely in place. Our two initial grants, $3 million, $7 million, went from here to here. So we're ready to fill in the spots with the BEAD grant. And Tennessee's got $900 million, and you heard them say that. They think that's sufficient to cover everyone in the state. So if they run a little short, we won't need to hold them out because we've got so much already done on the front end because of the program we were in. So
I'll build on Greg's point a second. So if you're going through the application process, because we didn't have it by October 13th, so it's kind of a crunch, and then we've taken a couple of weeks off. as they were looking at that path, we identified several of the smaller rural communities that were along that way, and we were going after them specifically for letters of support. And we identified that it was the firehouses that were in that area that we had talked about in our group that didn't have broadband. And so the partnership now will be, not only did they do letters of support, United said they have a program that would allow us to go get hotspots and at least put them in our safety, our fire halls, our volunteer fire departments in the short term, to provide them a gap until we actually get the fiber there. So our next turn of the crank will be, how do we set that up in the next 3 to 6 months so that we can take advantage of that while we're building the fiber out. But that's the collaboration that this group and these conversations have helped kind of foster to kind of keep progress moving forward.
And can I add one more thing to that? So because of the work and what you guys did to help us in our process, I get a call from the Tennessee Valley Authority, TVA, and said, hey, we want you guys to be in this Connected Communities program. And I said, well, we just got out of 15 weeks. This is a year-long process. Okay, it's a nationwide or regional-wide thing, and they had like 200 communities apply. We got selected for that, one of 3 selected, because of the work we had done through the Excel program, because of the work we've done. And now TVA is bringing consultants in. They're helping us on a number of projects we've got. They're going to bring money to the table. So this has been a very, very valuable experience and learning experience. And thank you guys for letting us be a part of that.
You're welcome. Well, there's no doubt that funders love to fund successful communities. When they invest in money, if the car is already going with the momentum, it's a little easier than joining a group where it's high risk. Are they going to perform and so on? So having a good track record is certainly a valuable selling point for you. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of our guests this morning. That was it's fun for me to hear the enthusiasm and communities listening today. I hope you feel that and know that it's genuine and frankly, we've done this program in about 50 communities, and we know that almost all of them would have very similar comments. So we did cherry pick a little bit, but we know that this is kind of representative of the results we've seen. Let's get the slides back up. Reed, thank you. And did I miss one? Did we have one with a community calendar? I might have deleted that. I guess I got rid of that, but I just wanted
I don't think
to,
so, yeah.
That early in the morning I hit delete instead of duplicate, I think. And so now I realize which one I deleted. But in terms of our calendar, 16 weeks, each, we kind of have a topic of the week, and we go through in terms of surveys and maps and financing and business models and fiber optics and so on. So we've got a great program that's lined up for you to go through this in a very logical way. The other part I'd like to say is that we have a great asset, the survey that we talk about. Nancy Odrego leads that effort and provides such great support for you on that, and that's tied to a speed test and so on. So you really get excellent data to use that not only influences your own community when you publish that information, informs your team, but then is also informative to prospective broadband providers and then to funders as well. So that's a really huge value from that survey that I think, especially in Illinois, Nancy does a super job. And so here's what I see as the key success factors is this team, that the team is really everything to get a good involvement. And generally we ask for a minimum of 8. A lot of times 12 is a great number. And I think our teams generally get bigger as we go, as people hear more about the program and see the momentum. It's not something that we have where people drop off because nothing's happening. So the other Reed, what are you doing there, buddy? Oh, so these you can see kind of the schedule here. I appreciate that. You know, so we just go back, there we go. So one of the things that we analysis by paralysis sometimes gets in the way of folks. They're trying to overthink things, make things perfect. In our quick process here, the 16 weeks, we really focus on getting things done, moving through the process. So a lot of times we'll, you know, decide to, you know, give you a couple weeks to launch a survey. Some people would rather take 6 weeks to launch a survey, but we've got a plan, we've got the tools, and if you just follow our lead, that is really important. Like anything, when you're with a group, listening and talking, you got to hear what people are saying. You've got to go out and reach out to a lot of folks, but developing this community consensus, it's really important, even if, you know, as you're a leader and you think, oh, I've got the answers, to let that consensus emerge and not kind of steamroll folks. But we really encourage a highly interactive team building process. Adjusting as you go is certainly a key thing, that this is a very dynamic area. Suddenly a provider may come in. We heard about NextLink, you know, hey, what do you want to do? Let's, you know, how do we help you accomplish your goals? And so that to be flexible is important. And then again, this idea that it's a marathon. It's really important to know that this is going to take, you know, over, like they say, come out of the economic development world, and it said overnight success is 10 years. And so I think that's hopefully a shorter period in broadband, but know that it's going to be an 18-month, 24 months, 36 months before you can maybe say you're done. And so that, know that this is a sprint, but the overall effort is a marathon. Next.
Bill, can I speak to that just a second for about the development part? One of the things that being a part of this, just as an economic developer, you know, we're consistently trying to figure out, like, okay, what can we tell people about what we're doing? One of the things that this program did for us is it really put a spotlight on us. You know, local news company, I mean, like, we were on the news a lot. I was on the news, which is, I don't love, but I love the, you know, the press for my communities, and to let people know that, you know, we were doing something and working towards something that is a very, I mean, like, we found a really high percentage of our people taking these surveys and saying, yes, we want this. So it was super beneficial from a development standpoint as well, getting the name out there, that sort of thing. So
good, thank you. And I think communities understand that, you know, they have an asset. One of the things I've enjoyed about Illinois is these historic town squares, and that, you know, those are really the economic hubs of communities. And when you think, oh, all of a sudden now we've got these historic buildings with fiber optic network capabilities, that's a real economic asset for, you know, attracting people to a community. That a lively and tech savvy town square, I think, is a real great economic development strategy. So here's our contact information, and you can, in terms of the application process, Reed and I are probably the lead folks to get in touch with. I think we want 5 folks for our application for our first cohort. I think we're at 3.5, maybe. We've got a strong candidate, but we hope to, I think at this point, with the holidays coming rapidly, probably a January 1 kind of start date for our process. But we're accepting these applications, you know, essentially as they come. And so we can, in the email that goes out to you after this, there'll be the application process for this. And it's really quite simple. The important part is to have your team members established and a little bit of background on your community that we can look at. And I won't say it's generally at this point, we're looking first come, first serve, assuming that folks meet the minimum requirements to get an approval. Again, we're going to start choose another 5 communities for the second cohort.
Bill, if something that I don't think I really, I don't know how many small communities are on the line, that would look like Schuyler County, that would look like population density of 15 people per square mile. I'm sure there are some small communities. I'm sure there are communities that are under-resourced in many ways. And I cannot underscore enough to say that this is something we could never have done on our own. So it's so important what Benton provided to us, what the Illinois Soybean Association provided to us, all of the partners, University of Illinois. We could have never done this on our own. And,
yeah,
I just can't say that enough. And I'm sure, yeah. So anyway, I could go on all day.
Right. And the reality is that we I agree wholeheartedly. We didn't know what we didn't know. And
yes,
part of the process
exactly.
was learning what we didn't know and then becoming educated on it so we could help other people understand. And then it's a base of knowledge that you can go so many different directions from depending on what you're looking for in your community.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Good. Other questions? Yeah, and so the application is really just in a, you might already actually have it in the announcement for the webinar. There's just a series of questions there's no real form, series of 5 or 6 questions. Who's on your team? Tell us about your community. There you go. Nancy has that link there, and it's something that we're again, if you have your team together and you say we're ready to go, that's really the important part of your application here. So we hope that you decide to participate. Again, we're looking for, at this point, 1 to start right away, or actually we need 2 more applications to start our first cohort, and then looking for a second group that will start we probably in March or April. We may have some overlap. It's really important now with these federal funds coming down the pike to get in on the planning, and because I believe that over the next year, the window of community engagement in broadband planning is going to really narrow. That these providers are going to apply for funds, and you may be on the inside, or you might not be on. You might be on the outside of that process. So I think that it was great to hear about the comments today about how this has empowered the community to have strong influence on what actually happens in the community.
If I may
Yes.
pitch in here, newly elected commissioner for Perry County. I know how important this is. I know that it's either we're going to pick and choose, or the state's going to come in and pick and choose for us. I understand you guys have been doing this forever. I know nothing, absolutely nothing. I reached out to Brian Chapman from Jackson County. He has helped me. He's been to our meetings a couple of times. He's been, they're actually starting their infrastructure. So I am a baby. I don't know anything. I know that this is important for our county, and I'm willing to start a board for this. I'm willing to do what I have to do. I just need guidance, because I know nothing.
Just feel free to reach out directly to me if you want. Did you see my email there? It's B. Coleman.
I did.
Just reach out, and you and I can have a conversation. And that's true of anyone who's interested in the program. Feel free to give me a call, 651-491-2551, or by email. And happy to set up a conversation if you want me to go through this presentation with a group of folks, local folks, to convince them of the program value. I'd be happy to do that. And again, we've got kind of two groups we're looking to fill, the first cohort and the second. So hopefully these great testimonials should convince people this is a good pathway for them. And so I really appreciate those from our communities.
Could you tell me your county again, ma'am?
Perry
County. Thank
Perry
you.
County. Yeah.
Great.
And I've had several people ask if I would do it again after what I know now, and I would say 10 times out of 10, yes. I would do the whole thing over again, spend the time, put in the effort, 100% yes. So if anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I second that.
If we're not enthusiastic enough, right, Skylar?
No.
Well, I just don't know how to go about picking
Right.
or asking people to be a part of this. I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
I haven't been in politics my whole life. I don't know everybody. So I'm kind of like,
yeah,
what do you do?
Well, so I guess I would start
Get it
with your existing organizations, like Economic Development Commission or corporation, the Chamber of Commerce. Go talk to the school board,
schools. Yeah.
schools, or the superintendent or the school technology coordinator. Your internet service providers. If a farm bureau is a great way if it's a rural county to approach this.
How do I present myself? I mean, what do I
And
say?
Well, you're a county commissioner. You're a person of status and power in the county. So I would rely on that. Say, this is something that may or may not affect you directly, but you may have heard about it from, you just say, I know this is an issue in rural counties and we need to address this, and I'm willing to jump in and help to lead. Do you have a county administrator or county coordinator?
We have a chairman.
Okay. So I think always as a new board member, talking to the chair is good, but maybe there's a couple other board members that would co-chair this with you. And then you'd have
only have
several of
3
your
board
members right
members.
there. What's that?
We only have 3 board members.
Oh, okay. I don't.
May I
Illinois
Very
is
small
odd
county.
that there's some, it's so different from county to county.
When, you're talking about,
I have a suggestion.
yes.
So one thing you might want to do in this sort of more informal area that you serve that might have lacking capacity or comprehension of like the widespread foundational benefits of high-speed internet. And then maybe they're starting to get an idea, but you still just don't see all of the efforts and the enthusiasm yet, is find that champion. There might be an organization. It could be your school. It could be your library. It could be a group. It could be, a group at the VFW. You never know, but there could be a champion there. Partner with them and then say, okay, our 2 entities or this entity is inviting the rest of you in all of these other community roles to come and hear about an opportunity. We're inviting you to join us and kind of use that that group that has more of like an established trusting status in your county or community that can invite others to look at the application and join your team. So find the champion. And I feel like finding the champion is important no matter what, because you don't want to exclude that champion, whoever that champion is, who's going to really stay enthusiastic from start to finish in the community. So I hope that's helpful.
And Nancy, I might add, we've had communities where residents who are just sick of having lousy broadband end up joining committees like this. So they don't have to sit in any official capacity. They're just people that are fed up with bad broadband and want to do something about it. So we had a whole community of, I think, 12 residents who just, you know, of households, maybe 200 households in that small community, 12 of them volunteered to be on the committee. And after going through the program and trying up, you know, over and over again to find a provider, they finally found a provider in a neighboring county that came in and is now going to apply for a state of Illinois grant. So, you know, I think trying to maybe go offline and talk to Skylar or Sam, who also come from very small counties, might be helpful if they would be willing to talk with you one-on-one. That's another possibility.
Absolutely. I am happy to. I put my email into the chat, so I'm happy to visit offline if you have any questions. I could even share with you the email that I sent to some of our you know, constituents, encouraging their participation. So I'd be happy to share that if that's something that would help. So,
oh, I would be so grateful for that. Yes,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah. So let's connect offline.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, everybody. And look for email from Nancy shortly following this with the slides and the recording. There's also a second, Nancy might include this in the email, from our original webinar, which had more slides and a little more detail on the program as well. So that would be great to look at. And again, either Reed or myself with questions to us about the application process and the selection process and all that. So.
Bill, I might just make one other point, since I spent a lot of time looking at who's attending these. We had a couple of providers and one consultant who works with Illinois providers. And I always urge the providers to reach out to the people who they're serving. And if they're looking for that community support, suggest that they enter the program. So I did notice a guy from the Harrisville telephone company here. And so it's just another, as I said, way. You don't have to be from a you know, on the county board to start the program. You heard that there are people from economic development agencies, 2- and 4-year colleges. We've had lots of people be the leader, you know, be the match that starts the fire to get into the program. So we just urge you to reach far and wide, and so appreciate that you took the time to attend this morning. Thank you so much. And thanks to our guests for being here, to Sam and Skylar and Greg and Tracy.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.